Jeremy loved his routines. They gave him a sense of control in an otherwise chaotic world. Every day he followed the same pattern, a rhythm that never changed. Work, dinner, a book, then bed. It was a sequence he cherished. It was comforting, predictable, safe. Tonight was no different from any other night. Jeremy finished his spaghetti, savouring the silence of his small apartment. The quiet was his sanctuary. He picked up his well-worn copy of Dracula, a book he had read countless times. The city outside buzzed with distant sirens and the occasional shout. Familiar sounds, comforting sounds that reminded him he wasn't alone. Jeremy took a sip of water, the ice clinking against the glass, a small but satisfying ritual. The only sound that dared interrupt the silence of his apartment. It was a peaceful end to another ordinary day. The phone rang, breaking the stillness of the night. A shrill, piercing sound that sliced through the quiet, echoing in the empty room. Jeremy jumped, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. He stared at the phone, a digital cordless model, its red light blinking accusingly, casting an eerie glow. He never got calls this late. Who could it be? His mind raced with possibilities. Hesitantly, Jeremy reached for the phone, his fingers trembling. His hand trembled as he brought the receiver to his ear. "Hello?" he whispered into the void. Silence. A cold, empty silence met his greeting, more unsettling than any response. Jeremy's grip tightened on the phone. "Hello? Who is this?" he demanded, his voice shaking. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy. Then a whisper, faint and raspy, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. It seemed to come from the phone, yet also from behind him, from the dark corners of his apartment. Goosebumps erupted on Jeremy's arms. He strained to hear, his heart pounding against his ribs. The whisper came again, a breathy, chilling sound. "Jeremy." Jeremy slammed the phone down, his blood ice cold. The voice on the other end had been unmistakable, yet impossible. It was a voice he hadn't heard in years, a voice that should have been silenced forever. He spun around, his eyes darting around the room, searching for the source of the voice. The room was empty, but the air felt thick with an unseen presence. It was as if the walls themselves were closing in on him. The shadows seemed to deepen, to press in around him, but there was nothing there. He was alone, or so it seemed. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of his own ragged breathing. He took a shaky breath, trying to rationalize. A prank call, his imagination. But the voice had been so clear, so real. It echoed in his mind, refusing to be dismissed. He had to be imagining things. There was no other explanation. Yet doubt gnawed at him, a persistent whisper in the back of his mind. Jeremy reached for his glass of water, his hand shaking so violently that he knocked it over. The water spilled across the table, a stark reminder of his trembling fear. As he reached down to mop up the spill, he froze. A chill ran down his spine, and he felt a presence behind him. Under the table, staring up at him with eyes that glowed an eerie, unnatural yellow, was a face he couldn't have imagined in his wildest nightmares. It was a face that seemed to belong to another world, a face that was both human and something else entirely. Its features were distorted, twisted into a grotesque semblance of humanity, a face that knew his name. It whispered it, softly, almost lovingly, sending a shiver through his entire being. Jeremy knew in that moment that his life would never be the same again.